and
Hey.
durarara.
Trust me, trust me, trust me, trust me.
Oh, I love all this musical accompaniment.
きっと約束だよいつかまた同じ笑顔で
Hello everyone and beyond, and welcome to yet another episode of the Annie Chat Box, episode 52, correct?
Yes?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. That is correct, yep. This will be part 2 of our winter season 2018 splash tank, seasonal splash tank. But before we get on to that, joining me today is a full cast, so who'd start with? We got our lovely producer, Cassie.
Hello. Hello.
The equally lovely Cammy.
Hello! Hello! Konnichiwa! Oh god, I went full weeb there, sorry.
And my fellow gentleman of the box, Craig.
Anarchy!
Jesus Christ. It's okay, I didn't need ears anymore.
Sorry.
We haven't had an anarchy yell in a while.
Oh, I forgot about anarchy.
Oh god, bring it back. Bring it on back, I guess.
Yep.
And I also just realized I forgot to actually introduce myself. And I am John, so Jonathan Joestar, as everyone likes to call me. Yay! Complete anarchy! Anywho, as always, you can send us a message via twitter.com/theanniechatbox. You can send us an email at anniechatmail@gmail.com. And you can always find us on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, TuneIn, and SoundCloud, as well as YouTube. And as always, if you find it within your heart of hearts to donate anything to us, you can do so via Patreon at patreon.com/AnnieChatbox. So yeah, Seasonal Splash Tank, Part 2.
I'm excited.
Get your motor ramen.
Head out on the highway!
And since I'm the host today, I figured I would kick things off with Beatless, which is by the studio Diomedia, not a studio I'm familiar with, although I am actually familiar with a few of these series that they've listed on here. There's Aho Girl, Fuka, apparently,
Oh.
and Ikamuzume. There's a few others on here that I've seen, but I don't know the English translations of their titles because they're all listed in Japanese for some reason. So yeah, the synopsis of this series goes: with the introduction of an ultra-advanced AI that surpasses human intelligence, beings that mankind is yet to fully comprehend, made from materials far too advanced for human technology, begin coming into being. Lacia, an HIE, equipped with a black coffin-shaped device, is one of these. In Boy Meets Girl's fashion, 17-year-old Arato Endo has a fateful encounter with the artificial Lacia. For what purpose were these artificial beings created? Amid the questions regarding the coexistence of these artificial beings and humans, a 17-year-old boy makes a decision. So yeah, I chose this series because it looked really pretty. It's got the same character designer behind it as Guilty Crown.
Oh yeah, I remember seeing that.
And the music to it is actually pretty awesome. And it's got some very strong similarities to another series airing this season, with not so much regarding the plot, but with regards to it being pretty girls fighting amongst each other over stuff.
Mm-hmm.
This does sort of outright advertise that it's going to be a darker theme to it, though. But much like, what is it? I'm actually completely blanking on his name. The Katana Maidens.
Yeah, Toji no Miko.
That's it. I can't help but watch these two series and compare them to each other, and I wish I had watched both of them before I sank Toji no Miko, because I can't swim this one after sinking Toji no Miko, because a lot of my complaints for this series are the same as my complaints for Toji no Miko. It's pretty. It's actually a lot prettier than Toji no Miko. I will say that. But there's some leaps to logic that I don't understand. And unlike in Taiji no Miko, where those leaps to logic seem to actually get explained, so she's a battle android. She outright declared war against her four sisters, because there's 5 of them in total, and then signs up to be a fashion model because her sister, because the main character's little sister signed her up, and she can't think of any reason why this is not a bad idea, and convinces him to let her do that. It ends up being a bad idea.
Of course.
Shock, horror. Then she gets kidnapped.
Oh.
And acts like a complete damsel in distress while the main character chases after her when she could have broken free at any given fucking point and saved him all the fucking trouble instead of letting him get lured into a fucking trap.
I see.
So basically, there's a lot of story inconsistencies or things that seem to be done for the sake of being done.
Yeah, and it's just like, why? I had high hopes for this series, and now I feel dumb for getting my hopes up. So yeah, I end up actually enjoying Taiji no Miko more than I enjoyed watching Beatless. So
that ain't good.
I'm probably gonna continue watching this, but unfortunately, for now, it sinks.
Into what? I'm quite curious.
Wasn't the last one Toji no Miko? Didn't you say it sinks into the blood of their enemies? So, like...
Yeah.
That one sinks into the blood of their enemies, but they didn't... These robots don't bleed, so...
Does it drown in oil? Grease and oil?
That's what I was thinking, like motor oil.
Sink it in oil.
There you go.
Motor oil. There you
Get
go.
your motor on.
Head out on the highway!
Anywho, I guess now I'll pass it over to Cammy.
Thank you. I just caught the mic from across an ocean. Couldn't be happier to be here. Okay.
Hey, that's some sick catching skills.
I like to picture you also did that little twirl between your fingers.
Oh man, yes. That'd be
I like
so
it.
cool.
I like
Okay.
it.
So this show is called Hakumei to Mikochi, or Hakumei and Mikochi. As Cassie expressed during our impressions listing, it's the name of the 2 main characters, is the title of the show. And Hakumei to Mikochi is done by Lerche, Studio Lerche, who has done animation for Assassination Classroom, Danganronpa, and Kuzuno Honkai. Kuzuno Honkai is an interesting one, notably because you guys remember like the manga panels that they had in Kuzuno Honkai? That's brought back here So it's kind of funny to see it again. So the
Nice.
synopsis for this show goes, 9 centimeters or 3.5 inches tall, tiny girls Hakumei and Mikochi live in the forest. Living in a tiny house in a tree, riding insects and birds, and making umbrellas out of leaves. These tiny girls live a tiny life. Follow their tiny but lovely lives as they live their day to day in a fantastic world of tiny people and gods. So right off the bat, this show has a very much like a children's storybook feeling to it. Because again, everyone is small. There's like the girls like have carriages that like that are driven by beetles, and like they'll ride on beetles and stuff like that. And then they go to the market, and alongside like other tiny people, there are also like lizards and like frogs and small rodents that like also wear clothes and like talk to them, and they're all in this like small community. Really beautiful background work on the forests in this show. I think art-wise though, the one thing that I was pretty disappointed with is because they were small people living in the forest, I was hoping they would have a lot of things refashioned from like regular sized items. To go back into mind, it makes me think of The Borrower Arietti. If anyone has ever seen that, like there's so much detail into using common materials to get things done, like how they use a string, a needle, and a thimble for like what's the word? Basically anchoring yourself and like scaling down a cabinet, I guess in that case. But it's like it looks like mountain climbing. Or like parts of small things are used for like utensils, etc., etc. So I kind of wanted a bit more of that, but it's interesting in this show because it expresses that this is like small creatures in a small community in the forest, but it's not really addressed if like there are also like normal sized like people. Apparently there are normal sized animals, because they will show like animals that just beat them like 3 times in size, but we don't know if there are other just like normal sized people. And so the world feels a little bit offbeat to me. I guess I was hoping for some more intricacies there. But it's not really the end of the world. The background art, as I said, is beautiful. There are some really nice detailed shots. And the world itself is really charming. The main characters are 2 tiny girls, but they're like older women in personality and the things that they do and how they behave. So I understand the need for kind of the blob design, because they're trying to emphasize that they're small people. But with the fact that these are like 2 mature women, they go to the market, they go drinking, they get tired after a long day's work, sort of stuff like that. And then just with how kind of stoic the art is, it's not very like fluid or super animated. It's just very simple. A lot of more like still panning shots. I don't actually like the blob art style very much. I don't think it complements super well. So it's not, I mean, I've seen blob art style utilized for multiple different ways. In Made in Abyss, it's good because it, again, emphasizes kind of the narrative of the story, the contrast, whatever, and themes. And then in Girls Last Tour, it also kind of does contrast and themes, but also the girls are blobby, but like they move and they're kind of rubbery almost, and like they have very, very animated expressions. And so I think it fit very well there, where here kind of like, it's okay. But as I said before, I am very spoiled this season, where I've really honestly enjoyed like all of my impressions. There haven't been any shows that have been like a slog to get through, and I have enjoyed the 3 episodes of this that I've seen. Again, I think it's kind of a show that you can just watch and unwind with after a long day, maybe before going to bed. But that being said, it's like harmless, it's enjoyable, it's cute, but it doesn't do anything special and doesn't really grab attention. So for that reason, it's gonna sink. And honestly, what should they even sink into? They can sink themselves into some nice cups of hot sake, because they like to drink that after work. So
nice.
So yep.
Who is up next?
That'd be you.
Yes, next would be... Well, on the list I've got it down as Craig.
Oh, is it me? I thought it was Cass. Okay.
Yep.
Alright, so first up on my impressions here, we have the show Killing Bites, the most outrageous show of all of them. Trying to swing for the fences. Studio is Linden Films. What they've done, some good and some bad. Cass, you would know this one. Koito Uso, aka Love and Lies.
Why do you want me to hurt myself? I don't understand.
They've also done the brilliant CG masterpiece that is Berserk 2016 and the subsequent season. But oddly enough, here's something good. They did Senyu and Senyu 2. I like Senyu. Senyu's cute and funny.
That was like the little skits, right? Between like the hero and
Yeah.
Oh,
the hero and the
those
stoic.
were cute.
Yeah, the hero and the stoic, like, side character or whatever. It broke the fourth wall and whatnot. But, outside of that, Killing Bites. The synopsis goes such as this. People have been created that are human, animal hybrids, and powerful businesses bet on the outcome of their duels. College student Nomoto Yuya's casual acquaintances ask him to drive them around to pick up girls one day, which he soon finds out that this means by force. The girl that they kidnap is an animal-human hybrid named Hitomi, who slaughters all of them except for Yuya. Hitomi is a honey badger, which has been called the most fearless of all animals. Now Hitomi is assigned to stay with Yuya for his protection. It should be noted that the show likes to call the honey badger a ratel, R-A-T-E-L. I at first was thrown off by this, and then I had to go look up online what the heck a ratel is. So the question is, why did I choose this with such a insane premise as people turning into half-man, half-beast hybrids and beating the shit out of each other for corporate gain? It's just that, and the fact that it's really insane in what it does, and the premise seemed interesting to me. I will say that right off the bat, that this show is very dark and edgy and tries to be seinen for the sake of seinen because it, like the synopsis says, Nomoto is the driver and his friends are gonna quote-unquote pick up chicks, but that means, yo, we're gonna kidnap girls and then have our way with them and then throw them off to the side of the road. And unlucky for them, they all get killed because Hitomi essentially just says, no, I'm going to overpower you. So, within the first 3 episodes, we discovered that there's that. Nomoto is essentially assigned to be her guardian and her, quote, financer for her to enter the competitive sport Killing Bites. What is Killing Bites? It's essentially a tournament that is funded by the Zaibatsu, an ancient head honchos of a Japanese economy that essentially want to fund the government by underground cage fighting with half-man, half-beast hybrids. And it's just that it takes the straight man of Nomoto as he's introduced to more of these hybrids. Episode 2, we get a half-girl, half-cheetah hybrid. And in episode 3, we get a half-girl, half-bunny hybrid. And we get a half-man, half-hippo hybrid. And out of all these people, they have to make a team in order to enter what's known as the Destroyal, which is the quote-unquote tournament that they're all going to participate in. I will say that the show does have has style. It has a lot of rock background music and whatnot. It's animated pretty well, all things considered, and it has the style when it comes to the attacks, and it shows the kanji on screen, kind of like a JoJo's or a Blood Blockade. However, all those things being said, not to make an animal pun here, but I don't think it runs with the rest of the pack of the season. I mean, I honestly thought to myself last night when I got done watching it, I was like, this show's okay, but we've seen this a million times before. We've seen a tournament arc. We've seen people that are forced against their will to fight, and then they find the resolve to go forward. The main character, Nomoto, is really just forced into here. He's, again, the straight man, and he's not really that interesting. Hitomi is brash and very violent. She just wants to get in and kill people. It's very by the books. Would I keep watching it? I honestly don't know. Like, I put it as dropped, but I don't know if I'll continue to watch it. Maybe when it all drops, but I don't know. It sinks. It sinks into oh man, I don't know what to. It sinks into a pile of junk, which is the staging ground for the first Killing Bites, where Hitomi fights a giant lion man and bites his fingers off.
Yummy.
'Cause Edge.
Yum.
So, I don't know. Like, I didn't know what to expect when I picked this. I just wanted to probably give shout-outs to, like, say, hey, anime is fucking weird, and this is proof that anime is weird when you get half man, half beast fighting each other for cage sports, and creepy old man who watch hot girls, scantily clad as half man, half beast, lick their screens and say, oh, this will be interesting. Yeah, it's weird.
Nice impersonation, though.
Yeah. So that's all I got.
Okay.
All right, then.
Yep.
On to me, then, I suppose.
Yes, ma'am.
Indeed.
All right, first thing on the chopping block is Violet Evergarden.
Ooh.
The new Kyoto animation, lovely little presentation that we're getting on our screens. If you know anything about Kyoto animation, you'll know that they are quite good when it comes to spectacle animation and animation. They have recently animated one of the most beautiful films I've ever seen, which is Koe no Katachi.
Love it.
They also recently animated Kobayashi-san Chi no Maid Dragon, which was something we all here loved greatly.
Yes.
And also something that me and Cammie love greatly is Chunyu BL.
Yes.
And always a classic Clannad. So they're a well-known studio. They do a lot of really great things. And I expected a lot going into this show, and I definitely got the visuals delivered, that's for certain. But before I go into the rest of my impression, I did want to at least read the synopsis to you. For those of you who didn't, pop in for our picks or just forgot what it was about. There are words Violet heard on the battlefield which she cannot forget. These words were given to her by someone she holds dear more than anyone else. She does not know their meaning. At a certain point in time, in the continent of Telesis, the Great War which had divided the continent into North and South has ended after 4 years, and the people are welcoming a new generation. Violet Evergarden, a young girl formerly known as the Weapon, has left the battlefield to start a new life at CH Postal Service. There, she's deeply moved by the work of Auto Memories dolls, who carry people's thoughts and convert them into words. Violet begins her journey as a Auto Memories doll and comes face to face with various people's emotions and differing shapes of love, all while searching for the meaning of those words. So, long story short, this is a very convoluted synopsis to say there was a young lady who used to be a soldier, and in some way, shape, or form, she was considered a weapon. I'm a little bothered by the fact that I only watched the first 3 episodes, just to be blunt. We're 3 episodes in, and I have no freaking clue why she was a weapon. I don't know. They put a lot of emphasis on that for some reason in the synopsis, and they nod to it several times in the show, but never really explain it. I honestly would have liked it better if she was just a normal girl. That would have made this way more interesting. Because then at least her emotionlessness would seem more like PTSD than somebody who's just innately emotionless. Especially if you're not going to give me that backstory. There has been some allusion to it, especially with when she first meets this person that she holds dear, which is her major. When he first meets her, she's very beaten up, and, you know, he's told from the very get-go, like, don't treat this person like a person because they're not a person. And in my head, I'm going, why?
Yep, same.
In a lot of shows that are like this, because this isn't the first show to do something like that, you'll know that they're either super capable of killing people or have been programmed to do so. But I don't even think that she is not human, because the only inhuman part of her are her arms, which are mechanical. But it's heavily implied that the reason why she has mechanical arms in the first place is because she was heavily injured in the war. So
I see.
Something similar to, like, Edward Elric, for example, from Full Metal Alchemist or something. So it's just, I feel like her as a character, there's just too much when it very could have been simply about a very capable young lady who was participating in a war. And the war flashbacks are very interesting. Her scenes with her major that they do show you are very entertaining. Or maybe not entertaining, may not be the word, heartwarming or heart-wrenching. But to see all of those things and then see her be so emotionless and not know what love is, which is basically the point of the show. Before her major, I guess it's assumed that he passed away. Before he passed away on the battlefield, he told her he loved her. And the rest of the show is her trying to figure out what the words "I love you" mean. And in a way, that's really cute and sweet, but also really, really cheesy if not implemented very well. And in this case, I don't feel it is, which is unfortunate. It took me 2 days to finish the first episode because I was so bored.
Oh, yikes.
Which is not good. The second episode wasn't as bad. It actually introduced some very interesting character motivations from people around her. And the third episode, in my opinion, was fantastic. But not because of Violet herself. And when the show is called Violet Evergarden, you want to care more about the main character. Before I pass judgment, though, I do want to say that this is one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen in my life. Every episode looks like a movie budget.
Wow.
You can see in things that Kyoto Animation has worked on recently, and I'm talking about TV shows such as even the most recent Maid Dragon. You can see where, you know, while it was consistently amazing, there were times where, you know, they would kind of cut the budget, or maybe it wasn't as pretty as other episodes. Every single one of these episodes that I watched, 1 through 3, was freaking like watching Koe no Katachi over and over again. Only more polished, which I didn't know was humanly possible. And the thing is that they don't cut corners. The first 2 episodes don't have an opening or an ending. The OP and ED don't actually happen until the 3rd episode. And that...
Are they good? Are they good?
They're okay. I like the ending song. And I like the ending song way better, and I like some of the animations. The opening to me is very slow moving panning shots that's a little boring, and the song didn't really get to me very well either. But then you can tell that they really sank their all the animators really sank their fingers into this project, and there's a lot of love here. And if you're looking for a visual spectacle, this show is something that you should most definitely check out. But to quote Cammie from last episode, that's not what the point of our podcast is. When we review shows, we review things for more than just their animation. And I feel like in a lot of ways, Violet Evergarden, ironically, has failed to capture me, and put me on paper and make me want to read its story. The whole point of Violet Evergarden is learning how to put emotions onto paper, and how somebody who isn't very good at handling emotions can learn to do that for somebody else. And for me, it was not doing it for me at all. So I'm going to go ahead and lightly sink Violet Evergarden into a pile of, I don't know, half-written letters.
That would be light.
Yeah, paper cuts, but whatever. She's got metal arms. She'll be fine. But yeah, I mean, it's something that I'm going to probably try and continue. And hopefully things will be just as good as episode 3. But we've passed stuff on potential before, and we're horribly burdened later. And I feel like there's a lot more stuff that we could be giving our time to.
I watched the first couple episodes just real quick, and I came to the theory that while it's not explicitly said that the major lived or died, I feel as though he did not make it. Again, theory, but I have a feeling she may find out, and that's probably not going to bode well for her. But again, Violet isn't that appealing of a character. She's pretty, again, and it's interesting, but I wanted to see why she's called the weapon in the battlefield. I wanted a wartime story, or a better implementation of what could be perceived as PTSD.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even think she has PTSD, to be honest. She exhibits no symptoms whatsoever. But then, at that same time, there's no reason for her to be as cold and calculating as she is.
Yep.
Without explaining how exactly she was a weapon in the first place. And to be fair, I believe this show's going to have 14 episodes, which is a very strange episode count. But that means they're going to have to speed things up pretty quickly. So maybe in the next few episodes, there's more to that. But for right now, it's not enough for me to base a character on and for me to like her.
No.
Episode 3 is pretty good. It was pretty good. And we do see some slight semblance of her being human otherwise. So check it out, definitely. I think it's worth people to even just look at for a little while, but for our purposes, I'm just gonna have us move on.
Okay.
Fair enough. And move on we shall to my second pick of the day, which is Death March to the Parallel World Rhapsody, aka Death March Kara Hajimaru Isekai Kyousoukyoku. It is by Studio Silverlink Connect. Oh, Silverlink and Connect, rather. Silverlink have worked on Kokoro Connect, Baka to Test to Shokanju, Chaos Dragon, and Strike the Blood. It seems like Silverlink and Connect have actually collaborated a few times in the past, because Silverlink was also credited to Strike the Blood. Anywho, the synopsis goes: 29-year-old programmer Suzuki Ichiro finds himself transported into a fantasy RPG. Within the game, he's a 15-year-old named Satu, rather, is how they pronounced it. At first, he thinks he's dreaming, but his experiences seem very real. Due to a powerful ability he possesses with limited use, he ends up wiping out an army of lizard men and becomes a high-leveled adventurer. Satu decides to hide his level and plans to live peacefully and meet new people. However, developments in the game's story, such as the return of a demon king, may cause a nuisance to Satu's plans. I saw the PV of this and some of the promotional artwork for this, and thought, the main character looks like a knockoff character. Sure, sign me up. And I still stand by that. He does look like a knockoff character. But this is actually a 30-year-old man who is actually quite heavy in the games industry on the programming side of it. Mm-hmm. Which this isn't mentioning anything about. The world that he's been transported to, he says, looks like a mashup between two games that he's been working on the development of, and he ends up OP as fuck. But blatantly so. Like, it's not really trying to hide the fact. I mean, he's level 310.
He broke the game.
But he did break the game, actually. And I actually kind of love how he goes around explaining how he was able to break the game and become OP'd and just get away with all the stuff that he gets away with, because he actually monologues. which is something that I felt was missing from Sword Art Online, because in Sword Art Online, in the light novels, we got a lot of Kirito's character development in the monologue, and that was missing from the TV series, so he just came across as this confident arsehole at times when that wasn't actually the case. It was him panicking and bluffing. In this, you actually get him thinking, okay, so how's this going to play out? Let's just dump some stats into this ability and see how that goes. And it often ends up playing out for him, because leveling up 309 times gives you a lot of stats to dump into various different abilities that you unlock through just trying to do stuff. And I've actually been enjoying this a lot more than I was expecting to. And yeah, it's actually a really fun series. It's another Isekai series, but yeah. Part of me is still wondering how he ended up in this RPG world and what the hell is going on. I've got some theories, but I don't really want to go into them. But yeah, for a change, and a first for me this season, I am actually gonna let this one swim.
Ooh.
All right.
We got an
There's a
Isekai
swimming
show, guys. Got fucking Isekai show in the lineup. What do we do? Red alert.
Tack that off your notepad.
So yeah.
Cool. Okay. Well then.
Anywho, back over to Cammy.
Yes.
Back
I
at it
caught the
again
mic
with
again.
fans.
Hey.
You cut it with dramatic flair.
Back at it again
Yes.
with the mic spins.
Oh my gosh.
Bow, bow.
I love it. Okay. So my next show up for impressions this time around is called Gakuen Babysitters, or School Babysitters. School Babysitters is animated by Brain Space. They've done a couple of shows that I really love, a couple shows that Cassie loves, and a couple shows that I think John and Craig like. And those include Mawaru Penguin Drum, Natsume's Book of Friends, that's obviously my bias, and Durarara.
Trust me, trust me, trust me, trust me.
Oh, I love all this musical accompaniment. So, yeah, I honestly think, like, usually I get pretty excited when I see a show's being animated by Brain Space. I think they do a good enough job of keeping the unique characteristics of a show, like, especially if it's based on, like, a manga design. Like, their shows don't all look the same, you know, but they are usually pretty colorful, usually kind of pretty, and nicely done overall. So that made me excited. And what Gakuen Babysitters is about is, after their parents are killed in a plane crash, Ryuichi and his younger brother Kotaro are taken in by the chairwoman, who they never met before, of an elite academy. Ryuichi becomes the school daycare's new babysitter. So that's a really, like, thin scope on Mal, but it is pretty accurate. So what they don't mention is that the chairwoman who took in Ryuichi and Kotaro also had, I want to say someone in her family also died on this same plane crash. So there is a little bit of extra perspective there where she takes them in because she knows that they have nowhere to go, and she also kind of is just like, you know, we've both really lost someone, but, like, we got to keep moving forward. It's actually a pretty nice message in the show. And this show ranges, particularly, it's just a general, like, sweet kind of slice of life comedy show, but does surprisingly have some good moments of feel. Some are a little bit more, like, forced and contrived, but sometimes they just kind of hit hard and, like, make you cry, and I was like, what? This is not what I expected out of this show, with all the pastel colors and the and the babies that look like reanimated nendroids, to quote Giguk in his winter impressions video. So it's honestly, for me, a little bit of a pleasant surprise show. I find all the characters really likable. You do kind of have to settle into the mood of the show because it's not realistic, and it's very like upbeat and cartoony. But like when you kind of give yourself time to soak in its vibe, it is honestly very, very pleasant to watch. I have a couple other friends who are watching it, and they also just really love it. It's one of those shows that gives me like a dose of cuteness every week. But that being said, I was intent to pass this one, but I kept thinking about it for a while, and I was just like, it can be a little cheesy, a little like cringy at times, which I don't think a lot of us would have like a lot of enjoyment with. And there are a lot more shows that I could recommend that kind of fall into a similar category of shows with cute children. And especially considering the thing about like letting children actually be children. There are a couple moments, but they're kind of caricatures of kids. So I think that this show is very fun. It's a lighthearted enjoyment thing, but I don't think it's for everybody necessarily. And we do like this is luckily a season where I get to be really picky about feel-good shows because we have so many. And logistically also, considering that we will be watching A Place Further Than the Universe, and for example, had that show been on my impressions docket, I definitely wouldn't probably have even considered passing this one. So yeah, this is one that like I enjoy personally, and I do keep up with week to week, but I'm just probably gonna sink it for the show very gently into a pile of pillows because they're all such small little marshmallow children that don't deserve to be hurt ever.
Aww.
Well, I don't know how to follow that. Just don't.
Yeah, go read the manga too, because apparently the manga's a lot better, and people really love it, so I hope to check it out. But yeah, there's that too.
Good to know.
Nice.
Alright, so back off to Craig now.
Alright, I've caught the baton that is the microphone. We're over here, over in Hipsterville, USA. So, for my rext impression here, we have Nanatsu no Taizai, Imashime no Fukkatsu, aka the 7 Deadly Sins, revival of the 10 Commandments. We're getting really holy with this one, guys, with this whole biblical shit, strap in. Studios A1 Pictures, you know them by now. If you don't, then you've been living under a rock for the past 10 years. What they've done, working. What they've also done is Gakuen Toshi no Asterisk, aka Academy Battle at City Asterisk, aka Asterisk War. I'm doing this thing where I'm trying to find shows that aren't real, like, I'm trying to diversify the pull list because after a certain point, I keep repeating the same stuff that a studio's done. So I'm trying to find low-key properties that I thought was good, that someone else should probably go check out. That being said, synopsis goes as such. In a world similar to the European Middle Ages, the feared yet renowned Holy Knights of Britannia, no, not that Britannia from Code Geass, use immensely powerful magic to protect the region of Britannia itself and its neighboring kingdoms. However, a small subset of the knights supposedly betrayed its homeland and turned its blades against their own comrades in an attempt to overthrow the ruler of Lyons. They were then defeated by the Holy Knights, but rumors continued to persist that these legendary knights, called the, quote, 7 Deadly Sins, were still alive. 10 years later, the Holy Knights themselves staged a coup d'etat. I love that word. And thus became the new tyrannical rulers of the kingdom of Lyons. Based on the best-selling manga of the same name, Nanatsu no Taizai, aka 7 Deadly Sins, follows the adventures of Elizabeth, the 3rd princess of the kingdom of Lyons. God, they say Lyons a lot in this description. And her search for the 7 Deadly Sins. With their help, she endeavors not only to take back her kingdom from the Holy Knights, but also to seek justice in an unjust world. Whew. Okay. Why'd I pick this show? Craig likes to play it safe, and he likes some sequel series to things that he's watched previously. All of the first season dropped on Netflix, and I watched it last year. They had like a quote-unquote sequel season, which I believe is like a recap of 4 episodes of the first season. Funny enough, I went and deep dived into this show. It's just released a video game on PlayStation 4. It has a movie. This show and property is very popular, suffice it to say. So, what do I have to say about this show in its first 3 episodes? Well, obviously it's a sequel season, and it picks up right where season 1 ended. So, I'm going to try and say this as vague as I can. Well, Elizabeth does the thing. She finds some of the 7 deadly sins, but the adventures continue. She saves the kingdom along with them, but to what effect? The subtitle of the show says Revival of the 10 Commandments. That means in the ensuing battle of season 1, the demon clan was resurrected. And based on that, they start getting into the clans of the races in this world: humans, giants, fairies, and the goddesses and demons. So with the first 3 episodes, it's really just the fallout of the first season and really kind of learning more about the 7 deadly sins and really what the leader of the 7 deadly sins, Meliodas, is tied to the demon clan. In season 1, you see bits and pieces of where his body will enter a berserk state and his body will be corrupted by a purple goo akin to what the demons have. But really, within the first 3 episodes, that's it. This is a 24 episode anime, and we're going to get these answers over time. So between this and Killing Bites, I ranked these lowest because I knew that these would probably be the quote-unquote shows that are either the most generic or the most... I don't know what to think of this show, so let's at least give it the time of day. This show falls into the generic category. While it is animated very well, while it is, like, scored very well, the story is pretty by the books. I mean, if you watched another A1 Pictures property, Fairy Tail, it's kind of like that. They will save the day no matter what. The power of friendship triumphs over all. It's cool in the sense where it gives you a very, very, very loose sense of history, where you'll see Merlin in the show, you will see King Arthur in the show, but other than that, I mean, much like Killing Bites, like I said, with that one, I put that on dropped. I put this one on the back burner as well will I ever get back to the show? Maybe, maybe not if I'm bored, but with the bevy of shows that we have this season, I feel as though that your time could be used better elsewhere, so this show sinks. Not to dismiss the popularity of the show again. What does it sink into? It sinks into purple goo that, apparently people like, that get corrupted with and turn into demons with, so, yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, that's concise. I actually don't have a whole lot to say because I dropped this show during the first season after watching like 2 episodes, so I can't.
I will say some of the characters are fun and their power sets are cool to see. Like the sacred treasures that they wield have interesting skill sets. Meliodas, the blonde, outside of being a complete and total pervert, his short dagger can counter anything that approaches it and essentially reverse attacks right back at him. So it's pretty cool in that sense, but...
Are you trying to imply that perverts can't be cool? Because I will have you know that I know of plenty of pretty badass perverts.
Such as?
Moroku from Inuyasha.
Hey!
Oh, you're right. I do like Moroku. God, Moroku's so cool. But yeah, that's all I got from my show, so.
Okay, man, we being harsh this episode.
Just a little
We
bit. I'm
are.
actually really surprised. Really surprised with this season because there's just so much good that I guess it makes it easier for us to destroy things. We're like, we'll get good stuff no matter what.
I mean, most of what we're thinking is still good, and we're still enjoying it. It's just like there's reasons why there's other stuff that's better.
Mm-hmm.
That's true. That's true.
Most definitely. Well, I think it's my turn, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Yep.
I am very excited. So, the next show that I will be talking about is Karakai Jouzu no Takagi-san, also known as Teasing Master Takagi-san. And it is actually animated by Studio Shin-A Animation, which I was not actually too familiar with. But when I opened it up, I have at least seen some of these shows before, such as Sweetness and Lightning.
Nice.
I actually haven't watched the show myself, but Denkigai no Honya-san is supposed to be pretty good.
Oh, I like Denki Guy. That was good.
Yeah, I've heard good things, and it's one of those shows that I've side-eyed for a long time, but never actually given the time of day to. They're also the folks that, or at least involved with animating Doraemon, which if you are involved with anime in any way, shape, or form, you'll know what Doraemon is. But yeah, so it's a studio that I don't automatically, like, my brain clicks and go, oh, I totally know who these people are. But the animation's good. It's clean. It's very adorable, which is something that's pretty great for this show, I must say. But before I talk more about how I feel about it, I'll go ahead and say what this show is about. So, if you blush, you lose. Living by this principle, the middle schooler, Nishikata, gets constantly made fun of by his seat neighbor, Takagi-san. With his pride shattered to pieces, he vows to turn the tables and get back at her someday. And so, he attempts to tease her day after day, only to find himself victim to Takagi-san's ridicule again, sooner rather than later. Will he be able to make Takagi-san blush from embarrassment even once in the end? Dun dun dun.
Find out the next time on Dragon Ball Z.
But yeah, so basically the show is kind of like this nice little sketch comedy show. I'm not sure if it's based off of 4-Koma or not. I actually started, I don't think it is. Yeah, because I read the first couple of chapters of the manga and it didn't seem to be going that way. So that was good. I started reading the manga and then I was like, oh no, I don't want to have the jokes ruined for me. And I'm actually really happy that I did that because I do feel the delivery in the show is a little bit more animated, obviously, than reading it in the manga. And that, to me, makes the enjoyment a little bit better. So I'm happy I paused reading the manga, but good to know it keeps with its style. There isn't a whole lot to say about this show. It is what it says in the synopsis, but I appreciate that. I like that I read this and I was like, this is something I would enjoy. Please give me this. And they said, sure, here you go. I went to a restaurant. I ordered a steak and they gave me a steak.
You got the steak.
So I there's not a whole lot I can say about the story because it is what it is. But the thing that really makes this show is the characters and how fun it is and how much this show just, I don't know, it reminds me of being younger. Being awkward and shy and in love and, you know, just poking fun at people. I actually watch this show weekly with my boyfriend, and Takagi-san reminds me a lot of him. So that's helpful. We watched the most recent episode a couple days ago, and I was like, she reminds me so much of you. And he's like, I feel so honored.
Nice.
It was a beautiful moment we shared. And that's just the thing. I think that this show is my Maid Dragon so far of this winter season. And Maid Dragon aired last year, and, you know, winter season. So I need this in my life. And I think John was trying to bribe me anyway. So I'm pretty sure that I was the one he was trying to bribe. So I'm going to go ahead and swim this. I think that a lot of us will really enjoy this. And it'll also be something that we can digest slowly or quickly. I think that the binge of this show would not hurt. It's something that you could pick up on your lunch hour every once in a while, the week that we're going to review it, or it could be something you watch all in one night and it's not going to be offensive either way. And I think that we could use a show like that, especially if we watch something like, I don't know, Devil May Cry Baby first.
Good old Devil May Crybaby.
Yeah, Devilman Crybaby. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and swim this. Keep it short and sweet. I think almost everybody here would enjoy it if they gave it a shot. There's also a discussion I want to have. There was actually a article that was released by Crunchyroll that I might have linked in the description, where they discussed that the teasing in Takagi-san is actually something that's really cool. Because it's not bullying. It's something that shows communication between two people. And I think that that's a really interesting discussion that we could have when we discuss the show in general, too. Because it's not bullying. She teases him and he, gets frustrated. But it's not that he's frustrated with her teasing. He's frustrated with losing. And I think that that's what's really interesting about these characters. And also about this just being in love when you're young. I think it'll be fun.
Another thing is, a lot of the teasing is him trying to initiate it and it backfiring. So he's kind of bringing it upon himself.
But that's just the thing. When something like this happens and it doesn't get boring after 5 episodes, you have something special. Because you know what you're going to get when you go into the show each week. Some sort of thing is going to happen where Nishikata is going to get super embarrassed and Takagi-san is going to rise up above and kick him down where it hurts, but in the most cute way possible. And you would think that'd get old real quick, and that was actually what I was really worried about with this show, but they switch things up. They make things interesting, and there's even some minor development that you see with these characters that makes it more realistic than just a gag show. So...
Nice. That's good to hear.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what everybody thinks and feels about it, depending on how many people watch it. But yeah, for now it swims, and we'll be talking about it on a future episode.
I will throw it out that at least as far as memory serves, there is some new content in there for people who have been reading the manga.
Nice.
From what I've seen. Anyway.
Yeah, you said that when we did our initial reveals, right?
Mm-hmm. I just thought I'd reiterate in case anyone skipped that episode and just wanted to come here.
So before we get out of here, do you want to go ahead and run through what we sank and swam from this episode?
Alright, so we sank Beatless. We sank both Hakumei to Mikochi, if I remember correctly, and Gakuen Babysitters.
Yes, very gently.
Precious children.
We sank Killing Bites, as well as Nanatsu no Taizai, or Seven Deadly Sins, and Violet Evergarden. And we was harsh this episode.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, no kidding. I actually kind of feel bad. Maybe I should have passed Violet Evergarden.
The only 2 things we swam this episode are Death March to the Parallel World Rhapsody and Karakai Jouzu no Takagi-san.
We're the only nice ones here, John. We're the only nice ones here.
Teasing Master Takagi-san. It's alright. I think a lot of us are probably in somewhere or another saving the best for last.
Perhaps. Maybe. Or maybe some of us haven't watched our last show. Looks to the left, looks to the right.
Or maybe they're forced. Their hands were forced with the fact that it's still currently airing, and episode 3 has probably only just come out while it was recording.
Well, you know what your plans are after we get out of here.
Yeah.
Indeed.
Before we wrap up, I do want to go ahead and mention that we will not actually be doing our part 3 next week. We're going to have a little bit of a surprise. And that will happen when it happens, unless the person holding the surprise already wants to tell it. But for now, I'm going to say that we'll just say it's a surprise.
Surprise.
Yeah. I like keeping it a surprise. So tune in next week to see what that surprise might be. I'm excited to tune in and see what the surprise is.
Me too now, actually. So even I don't know what the surprise is unless I've been told and completely forgotten.
Yeah, well there you go.
Good. Even better.
For now, you want to take us out of here, John?
Yeah, indeed. So that has been episode 52, part 2 of our winter 2018.
It happened. It wasn't me. It wasn't me.
Our winter 2018 season splash tank part 2. Again, next week we're doing something different.
And the week after,
I'm
we'll
assuming
finish
that the week after we'll finish off our season Splash Tank. So, I guess if there's anything you want to comment on, are we being too harsh this season? Let us know what you think. But otherwise, see you next week, I guess.
Oyasumi.
Bye!
Peace!
Bye-bye!